Recently, I've been getting quite a few comments on some of my old YouTube videos. These videos are the ones that I posted, I would say maybe 2, 3 years ago now. And it's not that much different to now in the sense that I'm just sharing what I'm going through at the time. And it's funny to look back at my old videos. Let's say when I receive a comment and the comment is maybe disagreeing or expanding on whatever thought I was sharing at that time. And then I look at the video that I haven't watched in like 2, 3 years. And I just watch it over. And I start to reflect on the perspective I have now of that idea compared to the one I had back then. And it's funny because a lot of people comment on those old videos, the ones where I was still living in Miami, when I was still working my corporate job, when I had just begun my self-improvement journey, essentially. And I was just sharing my ideas, my concepts, my perspectives, sharing as I learned more about them, learned more about myself, and continued to evolve. And it's like looking at an old version, which it is, of myself, like a different version, because 2 years, maybe 3 years, depending on the video. There's so much that has happened since then, so much that I've continued to learn, work on, focus on, that maybe now I can explain or articulate certain concepts much better than I could back then. And it just makes me think, right, that people see those old videos and they get this idea of maybe who I am, and maybe even ask me for advice on a particular situation that is no longer relevant to who I am today. Which is curious, right? Because that's how the internet works. But recently, I got one comment which was specifically addressing a video I made long ago, a very brief one, where I was talking about personality types, specifically introverts versus extroverts. And the video was just tips on how to start retraining your mind to not see introversion as a limitation. There's a lot of context that goes into that video. So in that video, I'm essentially just sharing tips and certain phrases that I used to say to reframe how I looked at my personality at the time. And I got quite a bit of comments back then where essentially people were attacking me or defending their social anxiety, the way that I was forcing people into uncomfortable situations, etc. A bunch of bullshit. And I just can't help but laugh because many people, especially even people that know me now in the present or have met me recently, they find it really hard to believe that I am an introvert. I consider myself an introvert. But the key difference is that back then, way back then, when I started posting those videos, and even before then, I used to have a negative association with me being an introvert. And that association was the fact that I was equating being introverted to being insecure or not being assertive, to a lot of negative traits. And that's how that whole video came about, right? Because I was at a point in my life where I decided that I wanted to be more extroverted, and I wanted to develop my charisma, develop my personality, my social skills, etc. That's where the video idea came from. And it's just funny, right? Because I just look at how people react, and at this point in my life and all the work that I've done on myself, I can see, or I even remember when I used to maybe think like that or react like that, because it was hard to face that truth. And going back to that comment, it was just basically asking me to expand on that idea of what I meant with the video. There's a phrase that I say in the video where I say, I'm introverted except when I'm with other people. If you take that at face value, maybe it doesn't make that much sense. But if you pay close attention, it makes complete sense. And that's the point that I was trying to drive home in the video that maybe I didn't articulate well enough, but I can now. And it's that what we tell ourselves is what we're going to believe. When I was making that transition, when I started to seriously work on myself, when I committed to seriously work on myself, that was one of the first things that I started to work on was improving my personality and breaking those old limiting beliefs that I had about being introverted. And that phrase is something that I said to myself repeatedly, constantly. More than that, I used to actually be very deliberate in my practice of being extroverted to the point where I committed to every day going up to maybe 3 to 5 people and just saying good morning or good afternoon to them. Could be, no, actually, no, I remember I also would go to restaurants by myself because that was a way for me to, okay, I'm gonna go out, and I had to force myself to interact with the waiter, waitress, barman, etc. I have old videos about this when I just started making my YouTube, when I started my YouTube channel. Same thing, I would go out at night by myself to bars and I would look for someone who was by themselves and I would just strike up a conversation with them. And this is how it really started. And the point of this whole thing is that I've been reflecting and just thinking, because I remember very vividly how I was in the past. Of course, it's my life, I remember. But I look back and I think to now, just comparing my old videos, my old journal entries, my tracking, my logs, everything. And I'm just proud of all the progress that I've achieved. I'm just proud of the amount of work that I've put on myself. And I am using that as evidence for myself and hopefully to you watching this video to show that anything is trainable. You can really learn anything in life. I was convinced for many years of my life that I was limited because I was an introvert. And I had negative beliefs, especially surrounding the fact that this world belongs to extroverted people. If you wanted to be a leader, successful businessman, successful entrepreneur, celebrity, athlete, etc., the most flamboyant or well-known of those groups were extroverted people. Bunch of BS and negative beliefs that I had. And I decided to address those. And now looking back at what has happened the past few years, I am really proud of the progress I made. We are almost at 2025. It's less than 75 days left in the year. If there's a lesson that I'm repeating to myself and I'm sharing with you, is that anything is trainable. If you don't like where you are right now in life, if there's something that you want to change, that you're desperate for a change, you want to improve your life, you want to take control of your life, let me tell you, it all starts with one thing. It starts with a decision to commit to change, a decision that you're not going to feel sorry for yourself, a decision that enough is enough, and a decision to getting better. That is how I started. That is how I made my fundamental turn in life to taking control of not what happened to me, but what I decided to act on the world. And it all started with just a decision. So taking a lesson from just that comment and expanding on what I reflected on it, that's the key takeaway. You can do anything as long as you believe you can, and if you're willing to commit to it. And that's the lesson for today's video.